We've just looked at how we can set up an online community using Facebook groups. These are very simple to set up. Facebook is a very accessible platform, but it's not necessarily going to be the best group platform for our particular goals. One very powerful alternative I want to look at and to show you is something called a Meetup. Now, you've probably been to meetups before. The most common tend to be business networking. So let's say property investment network events where you go and meet other investors and associated professionals from that particular industry. Or maybe you've been to a less business orientated meetup, maybe a sports meetup. These also exist. This used to be, the local tennis club, but now these tend to be based around online meetups using a platform like meetup.com or another one. But this is where they gain their membership and they build from there. We are going to jump over to meetup.com. It's this website. It's quite a ugly and hard to use website, but it has a very large user base. So we will be able to find people who are interested in joining a group that is connected to our particular niche and our particular area of expertise. Now, you might be asking yourself, why go to all the trouble of setting up a physical event? After all, you have to deal with getting a venue. You have to deal with turning up. You need to deal with, what you're going to do during that meetup. Is it going to be teaching? Is it going to be free-form chat? Is it networking? There's a far more considerations, and especially for the more socially anxious amongst you, and there may be some of you, it might seem like a very unappealing idea. However, the quality of the connections you make via a meetup are far stronger than through an online group. Having the two work together is a very powerful combination, because you have the online for the everyday connections with people, and that's kind of a gentle touch. It's not in-depth face-to-face, but it is repetitive and it's continuous. You are able to talk to people in your tribe every day, maybe several times a day, through an online medium. A meetup, on the other hand, is a far smaller group, because it's going to be people in your geographic area, which may or may not be suitable for your niche. Again, that's going to be depending on your particular business plan. But with those people in your area, you'll be able to create very strong links far quicker than if you were to go via Facebook or an online platform. So generally, I suggest using two together, having offline and online, and knowing the strengths and weaknesses of both. Offline is for depth of connection. It's less frequent, but very high quality connection, whereas online tends to be shallower but more consistent. So it's about volume. It's about that repetitive ability to communicate with people, and together they make a very strong team. So what I've done is in Meetup now. Let's go to start a new group. Now, one thing that would be really useful is to check what is already on Meetup. So I'm actually gonna, before I set up a new one, let's jump over to Explore. So it's going to be Find Events. As I say, it's actually quite difficult to create one. So I'm sorry, to navigate. It's a very badly put together site. So let's say we're doing, we can stick to property. So property investment within 50 miles. So that's going to be too big. If you are living in a more rural area, yes, you might go this kind of far. I can't imagine many people driving this far to an event. Maybe that's just me as a Londoner, though, not being able to imagine this at all. But I'm going to say within 5 miles. Even that's going to be too large, because that's 5 miles of London. That's the end of nothing. That doesn't sound right. That's why. It's because it's very hard to search for new groups on Okay, so that's given me a list here. Ignore this. This is saying there's nothing in your groups or suggestions, but here are some others that are going on. As I say, it's not the best search engine, so you do need to spend a bit of time searching around. So what do we have here? We have blockchain, not really connected. Investor psychology, investment portfolio. So this is UCUS Investment Club. Let's have a look at that. UK or UK-US. This might be more general investment rather than property investment. It's still interesting. Okay, it does look like UK-US. So this has 18 attendees. And this group, let's have a look. All I want to do now, okay, this has only got 51 people in it, so it's quite a small group. All I'm doing at the moment is looking at other people who are doing similar things on Meetup. So this is property sourcing, animal AI Olympics. It's machine learning. Okay, real estate investing. This is interesting. This does not exist yet in London, and Meetup is saying, hey, you should set this up because there are 1,200 people in London who are interested in this particular topic. Maybe that is something you could set up. Property investor breakfast. Okay, this looks more interesting. This is quite specific. This is going to be breakfast time, and here we go. It's monthly. It's paid. You can have paid meetups. We'll get to this in a moment. 7 people going. Let's have a look at. So he's got 550 members at the London Property Investor Breakfast. So monthly breakfast for property investment. Max of 14 people, 2 hours. Share knowledge, deal analysis, get to know other investors. So this sounds, and it looks a bit like a workshop, which is probably quite valuable. It's a small group workshop, rather than a lot of these events where they might have hundreds of people crammed into a hotel ballroom with kind of open networking, which for people who are good at networking is very valuable. But for the majority of people, they tend to stand at the side with their orange juice or their wine and talk to 1 or 2 people all evening. So again, it's going to depend on your niche and what you want to set up. But it's very useful to think of what events, what meetups you've been to in the past which you actually found useful. Chelsea, this business group, let's have a look at this Central London Property Network. So this is also paid. It's got, here are the guest speakers. There's only 4 people going. Let's have a look. So this is 1,400 members. So this is a bit bigger. This isn't a particularly large group though. They have more events. So it looks like they have, one a month. Okay. So this is something that you might be able to learn from if you come and have a look at what they're doing here. Just come and have a look at the different people in your area. Maybe there's already a large meetup doing exactly what you want to do. It's unlikely. If there is, either work with them, join their team, and then maybe build a sub-tribe within their tribe, or find another way to distinguish yourself. I would still recommend working with them if you can, because if there is already a meetup that has 30,000 members and you can provide value to people in that meetup, they're more likely to come over to yours. What I did want to show you is once you are in a particular meetup and you're thinking, okay, this is quite useful, this is relevant, this is on topic for what I want to talk about, you can actually scroll to the bottom and you have related topics. And this is a much easier way to actually find other meetups. So what we're going to do is look for real estate investments, property. Let's try that. There we go. So real estate investors, it's obviously very US centered because it's an American term, but we have nearly 2.5 million members and 6,000 groups. So you can actually come in here and see the biggest ones, which again, it's really useful to see the scale that these meetups can reach, and the size of a tribe that you can build under your umbrella, potentially. So this is 15,000, pretty big. It's finance, trading and banking. These are not necessarily all real estate, but it looks like they are connected. Most of these are in the US, but what we have here is local groups. So we went from a specific meetup to a category, and now we're looking at real estate investor groups near you. So this is local groups. As I said before, the search functionality in Meetup is not great, so we need to find these other ways in to find the particular topic we're looking for. One other way to do this, and this is a bit shameful for Meetup, but you can actually just go to Google and type Meetup London property investment, and Google is much better at turning this up than, here we are, real estate investor groups and meetups in London. There we go. So we have found this page, which we found by going through a meetup we thought was relevant, to the categories, to meetups local to me. We've gone through the meetup system to it via 3 steps, whereas if you just go to Google and you put in meetup plus your niche and your location, you'll be able to find them a lot quicker. So property, let's have a look at property networking groups in London. There we go. And they're going to be similar, there'll be overlap. Okay, so let's jump back to here, real estate investor groups in London. So because we have the plus 25 miles, we are going to get things like this. Surrey, which for this particular example is not relevant. So we could reduce this, but it's still useful to see what else is going on. So we have a pin, that's 200 members. And there's more down here. So I would say come in here, have a look and see what other people are doing. Premier Property Club, this is Canary Wharf, 1,000, that's a decent size. There's Central London Property Network again. This is a new one. And this is all competitor research, yes, but also for finding potential collaborators. So come and see what's in here already. And I'm hoping you can already see the potential here. If you have a meeting and you have 1,000 people in your meetup and you've got a meeting once a month with 50 people turning up, those are 50 people who are much more likely to purchase any products and services you are going to be offering down the line. These are also people you can collaborate with, people you can get into your tribe, and they can be producing content, they can be teaching, they can be working alongside you in order to create this this value providing infrastructure that you are generating with your online and your offline tribe. Okay, so I'm hoping this is exciting when you see this, when you see the potential here. Now, very briefly, you might have heard of Eventbrite. Eventbrite is probably the largest event platform. You can create an event on Eventbrite for free, and then you can promote that link. It works really well with Facebook because Eventbrite and Facebook integrate well. So you can create an event in Eventbrite and then connect it to Facebook, and they will share information about how many people have signed up, for example. So it's a very useful tool. The reason I'm not recommending it over Meetup is because once you have a Meetup, you start to grow a membership. I'm going to show you, I have a couple. South London Board Games. This is a board game meetup where we raise money for charity, for example. So I set this up with a few people. We have 1,333 members. It's been going about 1 year, I think, without any marketing. So it kind of shows you the numbers you can get. It's quite specific to South London too, but we've still got over 1,000 members. What's happened here is I have members. I have people who have actually joined, and from now on they're going to get information about all these future events I put on. In Eventbrite, that doesn't really happen. Eventbrite's really good for one-off events, but not for continuously keeping in touch with members of your tribe. what I tend to do is I will host the online tribe, sorry, the offline tribe in Meetup. This is where I'm actually collecting members, and I'm able to communicate with them at will. But then I will repost the same details onto Eventbrite, and that means I'm getting coverage in 2 different places. I also use Timeout, which has free listings, and there's lots of other places you can post your event. But the main thing is everything leads back to Meetup, because that's where you can capture this membership, whereas you cannot do that on Eventbrite. So Meetup is where the main event sits, and you use Eventbrite, you use Timeout, you use Londonist, you use the Evening Standard, etc. as distribution channels coming back to Meetup. Okay, so let's jump in and actually start one. So based on what we just saw, there's I'm not actually seeing a South London one, so let's see if we can go ahead and start that up. So here we are. It's going to ask, where is your hometown? And there we go. Oh, it knows what I've been looking at. So real estate investment education. We can obviously type in here. So let me put in real estate. It says a lot here. Let's do property investment. Rental property investment education. That's a nice one. Making money with rental property. Property Investors Network, that's PIN. Let's go for that. And this. This is going to depend on your niche, so just have a play around in here and look for topics that are relevant. Okay, I'm going to go to next. And then here we are. London Real Estate Investment Education Meetup Group. Bit of a mouthful. It's put there we go, education meetup or just meetup, up to you, it's your name. You might want to connect it back to here and the name of your group there, and then you're going to go ahead and write in a description here. Okay, that's getting upset. Right, I'll drop that in just to go through the process. Okay, that's fine. Okay, and then they're going to review it. That will probably get rejected because I just threw in some random text. But I just, for the process of going through, writing a short bio, so that's going to be you. To set this up in the first place, you do need to set up a meetup.com account, where you'll have a bio in here already. Okay, welcome message. This is really useful because as soon as somebody joins your meetup, they will get an automatic message. So you can do really cool things with this particular message. The most important thing right now is probably to add a link to either your Facebook page or your Facebook group to tell them, hey, yes, we have a physical meetup and we meet once a month at this location, but we also have a continuing discussion going on in our group. Here's the link. And we regularly post content every 2 days on our page. Here's the link. And that's a good way to get people into your system before they even show up at the meetup. Okay. And there we go. This is the meetup. And this will be the URL, the web address. So London Real Estate Investment Education Meetup. In here, you can then edit group settings, and then I can change the name of the description that you just saw me drop in some random text. Okay, so this is now, there we go, I need to get rid of that. This is now set up. Members 1, obviously. Events, there isn't anything at the moment. Uploading a photo, we can go back to Canva and grab another image and set one up using Canva. But right now what we want to do is I want to show you how we would schedule an event. Okay, so this is the basics. Title, time, and location is here. It's quite good. So actually, I host things at Ugly Duck. Here we go, Tanner Street. So a lot of the time it will be able to just locate your location. If not, you can do edit map pin and do it manually. But most of the time Google will be able to fill in the information. How to find this? This is really useful if you are hosting in a pub, for example, and you have space in the back room or upstairs, and you need to describe, okay, we're at this location, but we're upstairs in the private room. Description, you have a lot of space here, 4,000 characters. Yeah, this is enough to really go into detail about what your values and your missions are, what this is about, how this is different to other meetups, what people can expect, what your kind of basic rules are. I like to have no selling rules in my particular meetups. Again, that's similar to my online groups. You can really bring a lot of information in here. This is stuff that will be mirrored in your online group as well. So it should be easier once you've been running your online group for a while to fill in this description. If you have no idea what meetups are normally like, or how you should be running this, I suggest you go ahead and visit a whole bunch of different meetups and work out what it is you like and what it is you don't. If you don't like big networking events, don't set up a big networking event. Make something smaller, like the real estate breakfast that we just saw. If you do like big events in ballrooms with 400 people, etc., you can absolutely do that, but be aware that that's going to be harder to get off the ground than a smaller event. And of course, you can have events of different sizes and different scales within the same umbrella. So you might have once every 6 months a big event for all of your members, but then maybe weekly you have local smaller events of 5 to 10 people. Up to you. There's many ways to do this. So that's pretty much all that we need. It would be, what's it called, when is it, where is it, and how do we find you, and what is it, the description. There are some optionals at the bottom. So repeat event is really useful if you are going to be consistently running the same event. I personally use this. I have events on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's every single week, so I can use this recurring event so that I don't have to go in every week to duplicate or write anew. Ask members a question. This is when they RSVP to come to your event. So this is different from when they join your meetup. You can also ask some questions at that point, but this is when they RSVP. So it might be what are you most looking forward to this evening, and a list of different things, or what are you looking to get out of this evening. This is really for you, but it also helps people ground themselves for, okay, this is why I'm going to this event, and that may increase the number of people who actually do turn up, because you will find on Meetup a lot of the time you might have 50 people RSVP'd, but they might not come. They're more likely to come if they've paid already, and that's one reason why doing paid events can be preferable, even if it's a nominal amount. Once people have paid that money, they feel more obligated to go, whereas if it's free, they might not value it as much, and they might just not turn up. Again, that's going to be really dependent on you. A free event's going to be easier to get off the ground, but you are going to have problems with people not valuing it as much. It's going to be harder for you to sustain doing it if there's zero recompense, if there's zero money coming back to you, because you might be going out of pocket to get the venue, for example, and you're certainly spending your time hosting this event, even if it's only once a month. Attendee limit. This is relevant if you have booked a space that has a limitation. I tend to set this higher than the space limitation. So let's say I have a room for 50 people. I'll set this at 70, knowing that a handful of people will not turn up. If they do, we're normally fine. But generally, because of that dropout rate, it's better to go higher than lower here. Allowing guests, all this means is if somebody has a Meetup profile and they sign up and they RSVP for your event, they're allowed to say, okay, I'm bringing 4 people with me. So it means those other 4 people don't need to come all the way to your Meetup to RSVP. They're coming as +1s or +4s in this case. This is helpful. I allow it and I have it as high as possible, which is +5, just because it reduces the friction. RSVP start and end. This is, we can do, one day before. So this is to set the time period where RSVPs can be made. I never use this personally. If you have an extremely active group, you might have a look at this. But if you're just kind of starting out, it's not going to be worthwhile. An event fee is, here we go. You can do it via PayPal. So you can get the money automatically sent to you. And that means people can pay before the event, which is very useful, just for the reasons we just discussed, in that they're more likely to come. Obviously, you can do cash on the door as well. My events are charitable, so we do donations once people arrive. About halfway through the event, I will stand up and stop everyone for a moment and say we're coming around to collect for charity, which works for my particular meetups. You may want to do cash on the door. You may want to ask for suggested donations, or it may be free. Free will get you the largest number of people, but they're more likely not to come, and they're more likely to be, depending on your niche, but they're people who are interested in but not necessarily active in that particular area. So for investment, for example, that you'll find a lot of people who want to get into property, but they don't necessarily have any experience, which if you're running a training company, if you're teaching people, if you're mentoring people, great. They're the kind of people you are interested in talking to, because they need that advice. They need that expertise to get started. So you would want to have it open. However, if you are running a property networking group, but you are only interested in people who already have a portfolio, then you would probably not set it as free, because you want to find people who are, 1, serious, 2, will show up, 3, they value the fact that you are putting the event together, and that's a cost to you. They understand the time value of money. So really, depending on the niche and the psychology of the people you want to be attracting, you can set as free or paid. I wouldn't set it as paid in order to simply make money, because we're going to be making money further down the line with the offer. And trying to make money off a meetup, I think, is a bit short-sighted. The meetup is an extension of your tribe. So think instead of payment as a vetting device. It's a way to make sure you have the right people coming in. And again, the right people might be free attendees, depending on your niche. But just don't think of this as a way to generate cash, but instead a way to build your tribe, and then later that converts at the offer stage into revenue. So that is the basics of Meetup, really, how to set up a Meetup and how to set up the individual event. Once you have set up that event, you can post it on your page. You can talk about it in a video with the link below, and then boost that video to the audience who can make it to the event. Generally, you'd have much more tighter geographic range, because people will be traveling to the event, so you wouldn't go nationwide, for example, unless it's a really exciting event. You can then also put the details on Eventbrite and other websites where event listings are posted. If you don't know where they are, let's say you're doing it in Rochester. If you just put in something like Rochester event listings, you can see, there we go, Eventbrite is the top. But then there's also Skiddle, Visit Medway, Visit Rochester, etc., etc. You can go to these sites and look for their submission links. So it might be at the bottom. Oh, this is Rochester, New York. That is very unhelpful. Here we go. Let's have a look at the list. The list. Here we go. So add an event here. So you'd have to sign in, but then you can add an event. Most websites will have the same thing, even timeout. Let's do timeout, submit event. There we go. Get your event listed on timeout. So menu listing, and here we are, event listings. So depending on what it is, it would be in here. Maybe things to do. You'll generally get your event into the free online section, but getting it into the actual physical paper is quite difficult. I've only got it in once, but if you post, there's always a chance it will go in the physical copy as well as online. Okay, so that's Meetup. Actionable things. Join Meetup, have a look around, find out what's already going on in your area, find people who are doing something similar to what you're thinking about doing in your area, attend, go to a few meetups, see what you find useful, what you don't find quite as useful that you think could be tweaked, and then go ahead and set up a meetup and just go ahead and set up your first event. People and ah far too much about this and how they do a big launch. I wouldn't worry too much. I would start small. If you have 5 people come to your first event, that's still 5 more people than you would have had before. Don't obviously hire the Hilton and the ballroom and expect 400 people to turn up for your first event, because that's not very sensible. Instead, we're going to follow, as we did before, the lean methodology of starting small, working out what people find valuable, and then building on it from there. So if you have a handful of people to your first event, that's fine, because the next event, there'll be a handful plus 1 or plus 2, and it will spread from there. As I say, the group I have with 1,300 people, that's been 12 months. So it's about 100 people a month. So yeah, 2 or 3 people a day. It does increase in speed. For the first few months, it was, 30 people. And then now that we're at 1,000 plus, there's more people telling their friends about it, and we expand much faster. And as with all things, it's about consistency. So check out Meetup, see what's there, go to a few meetups. If you think it's right for your niche and for your tribe, then go ahead, set one up and do a test event. Also, make sure to drop your link so we can check it out and see if you're still doing it. Hopefully you are.